Good, Bad, or Bullshit, episode 252 finally starts in 3, 2, 1.
Well, howdy and welcome. My name is Crofton Steers. I'm one of the three hosts of this fine podcast. I'm talking about good, bad, or bullshit. We pick a topic, we do a review, we decide if it's good, if it's bad, or if it's bullshit, y'all. With me, as always, my two co-hosts. I'm talking about Michael Hodgins and Beau Schwartz. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing good, buddy. How are you all doing today?
I'm doing fine. I had a little bit of the drink in before. Beau, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
He's always been a quiet soul.
He's just like a.
Well, I got paralyzed. Hang on, I gotta kill.
Country guy.
Let me talk. I gotta kill this now because like when Crofton started it, I was like, oh, that's an adorable patois. But when we got to the point where like Crofton and you were talking, I'm like, this is kind of racist. It's kind of like, I just had this thought. Southern? It might not be racist, but I'm just like,
no.
We're like, hey, howdy, boys. How's it going? We're talking like them damn Southern Americans.
If you can't make fun of your own racial group, and I am from the country, god damn it.
You're from Texas?
Then, no, but I'm from rural place, and there's a lot of hayseeds where I grew up.
Okay, maybe it was just a weird thought. I just got out of the zone. I was just like, it's fine, but like,
are you getting so woke, Beau, that you're like, this is for white male Southern identities being questioned here and made fun of? It is not right.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. The snake's eating his own tail right now for me, for sure.
A river. Southern hayseed a-holes who don't like her accent.
You tell him, Brother Hodgins, you tell him good.
He sounds like a Democrat.
Oh, man. Okay.
So we're starting
It's
over?
a good thing no one listens to this show. No. This is the show, man. Let's keep going.
Laugh if our Democrat.
Okay.
All right.
Good. So
these conversations are great.
Welcome, everyone. This is Good, Bad, or Bullshit. If this is the first time you ever listened to this show, my apologies. And now let us get back into the main program with my two gentlemen friends who are nothing if not polite and well put together. Michael, Beau, please tell me, how are both of you doing these days?
Well, howdy, partner. Thanks for asking. I'm doing mighty fine, I reckon.
And Michael, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well this evening. I just came from a little drink down at the jazz club. It was very interesting, sort of avant-garde music, and it was very enjoyable. So,
wait, are we still being racist?
I
don't know. What white person did I offend now?
Jazz club attendees, I think.
Look, I will tell you guys, I needed a bit of levity. I find that everything is being real tough to bear lately. And so I'm looking forward to Halloween and for things to be, a little bit more fun before we get into the shittiest month of the year, which is November.
Yeah, it is.
Although... What? Are you going to argue me?
No, I don't know what's going on with me. I'm just having these weird thoughts that pop into my head and I have to share.
This is wrong.
What kid, which kid is going out dressed as COVID? There's going to be one.
Somebody's going to be dressed as COVID. For sure.
It's going to be so inappropriate, but somebody's going to really enjoy that.
I just want to pick up on Crofton's point of the levity, because I think it's so true. And that, humor is such a wonderful thing about human beings. And I was thinking about it, in like animals, you can see compassion in animals when they care for their young. You can see a lot of emotions in different creatures, but I don't know of any other creature that has a sense of humor and makes fun of themselves and makes jokes about other people. It's one of the best things about a human being. So yes, bring on the levity. We all need it now and then. It lightens it. It makes life worth living. So kudos to you, Crofton.
Thanks, Mike. I accept those kudos. I also I just feel like it is a rough time for everyone right now, and it's just like I know in the States they're barreling towards their presidential election. Probably by the time this episode is published, we will know who the new and or same president is, and people will be happy and or more depressed. And so it's just like
people will be both of those things depending on where they are, who they want, right? It doesn't.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just November for me is like, I don't know about you guys, but like for me, I have the young kids who love swimming in the summer, like skiing in the winter. And then it's like, what do you do in November? You know,
nothing. They don't like cold mud. I don't disagree. Yeah. November is the roughest. Like, the roughest. It's 3 degrees and cold rain again. Like,
you know what the holiday is in November? Remembrance Day.
It's a downer.
and no offense, because it's very important to remember those who served and stuff.
It is important,
but it is also a downer.
Yeah.
I mean, is it though? Like, because you talk about it like we celebrate it. like I think I just stopped talking for a minute and to think about the soldiers. It's only a minute, right?
Well,
it's at 11,
it's called Remembrance Day.
Yeah. It's a solemn and somber affair, and a lot of people have died in war, and you need to remember that. But
so you guys do things on the day? Because usually I don't remember it's Remembrance Day till the 12th. Usually.
It's like, the 11th.
I know it's a day off, but like, like I don't. It's not to be disrespectful, but we're already down this road.
So I've got a lot to say about Remembrance Day, but let's not go down.
And I would just say that, like, for me, like, Beau, not everybody gets that day off. Like, we get that day off because we work for the public service, but nobody else gets it off. So I always have that in the back of my mind, which means like, I really should be using it to commemorate, those beyond the 11 a.m. Ceremony, which I watch every year religiously. It is like, I take it seriously, but I'm totally, if somebody was like, are you looking forward to Remembrance Day this year? I would be like, no, I'm looking forward to Christmas. And so that's what I mean. It's just another thing in November. It's like November. When somebody told me the other day they had their birthday in November, and I was like, you know what? Good for you. There's something in November that you can be like, this is fun.
My brother-in-law's November is like November 17th, like right in the thick of crappy November. But he's got his birthday, so good times.
No, and Monica has her birthday too. Happy birthday! In November.
Oh, that sucks for you, Monica.
It's probably nicer in New Jersey, though. It's probably like not quite so.
It seems like a November kind of state.
Probably nicer in New Jersey. Something no one said ever.
Monica's gonna divorce us. Please don't.
Hey, that's where Bruce Springsteen's from. Come on,
I love the boss.
All right, nice.
New album too. He's not over the hill.
Yeah, no, I'm actually into it. I literally love the boss. The other thing I would just point out, as being the boss of the podcast this week, I think it is time for us to draw a topic. And this, as you guys may recall, we do this a bit differently. One of us has to bring it to the table. This week is the scariest week of all because it's a Beau topic, and they always give me heart palpitations until I'm proven safe. So let's.
I didn't know that. I thought you're okay. I'm sorry. I'll try to be safer for you.
No, you're.
Oh, here comes. Here comes. What?
Oh.
I caught it.
I just got to say, Beau, every time you scare me, but every time you come up with a topic, it ends up being good. So the pressure is on.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you guys will like it or not, but it's been on my mind a lot. So why the hell not? And it's something. Technically, that could be a topic, right? All right. No, the topic this week, ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, for all those standing in the front and all those way in the back, hear me now for this week's fine, most excellent topic that you've been waiting for is about to emerge.
I thought he was going to say abortions.
Behold, as the curtains rise upon theater.
Oh.
Dun, 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 dun.
So, just to clarify, you mean the theater as opposed to something like theatrics?
We did acting in previous episodes, but confirmed we have not done the activity of going to the theater.
Okay, lay it. Describe to us the theater, Beau.
The place. Okay, so the theater is a place where actors or performers go are in an area designated as a stage, and then there are other humans seated who observe the performers in a live performance of something. That is the place you do that in is the theater. It might be an amphitheater, it might be a vomitorium. No, wait, that's wrong. I'm mixing up my terms. Rotunda theater, let's say, or it might just be a traditional ass theater. It might be a comedy club, and you're sitting and watching people perform live. It's a live place you go for live performance.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Because when you say the theater, I have something in mind, which is half of what you described. The other half would be that the thing that you are watching is a play, usually, or I consider like Shakespeare the theater. A one-act play is the theater.
Well, that's a tragedy or a comedy or a play or whatever.
Yeah, and it can be any kind of thing.
I mean theater, anything that occurs within the theater. I'm not.
So you mean like a live music show? We
both have a literary back. Well, we all do actually have, but we have a. I know that you and I think have spent some time for sure in dramaturgy and the theater aspect, the dramaturgical aspect of theater. So I'm not saying like theater plays, although we can focus our conversation on that. So, but I mean the place of the theater and the play, going to the theater for anything.
Just like I just want to keep the clarification until I understand fully. It could be a stand-up comedy show. It could be a political debate. It could be a lecture. And it could be a live music performance.
So I haven't in my mind. I haven't in my mind broken it down into demarcation points where like this counts and that doesn't count. I'm thinking definitely of theatrical plays and dramaturgy, and I'll probably talk a lot about that because that's what I know. I do mean the theater as a place.
When you said theater, I thought like
no, I do mean theater. I mean the place. Yeah. I mean look. Not a lot of people go to it's an activity. So I'm going to use the word activity.
Okay, activity.
Theater is an activity. It's the workers have an activity in the theater. The audience has an activity in the theater. I'm talking about the institution, I suppose, of the theater, and whatever that means to you, we can probably discuss it because I think that's more open and more what I'm thinking. It's just we don't go to the theater. I know. I often lament that I don't have a habit of going to live performances as much as I should. They're very good, and they're rewarding in a way that watching a movie isn't. And often, and I have Crofton's voice, dinosaur technology in my head, here from years ago as a popular thing, referring to manual transmissions. But I don't really see film as an improvement on theater. I see them as two distinct activities, and one is just more popular. Sure. And theater is, of course, underfunded, overexpensive because no one goes to it, and we don't value it. But the experience of a theatrical performance is a different feeling and experience than even a movie in a theater or a movie at home. And both are good. I'm not arguing one over the other. But I want to talk about the theater because no one talks about the theater. And in this time of pandemic, when we are isolated and miss human contact, one of the things I want to do too is like see a live performance, especially with all that I'm going through. I want to get out more and do more different things that are socially engaging and that are things I like that I just don't make time for. And one of those is the theater. I even want to take a quick trip over to England at one point just to go to the Globe where Shakespeare wrote his stuff, just so I could say I was there and do that and come right back. Like I kind of have that plan right now in my planner, like as a bucket list item, I guess, for me. So, and I'm just like, man, we don't give a fuck about theater. So I was like, okay, let's talk about it.
I just want to point out maybe one of the last times I was at the theater was to see Beau perform.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sure. I know it was an indulgence for a friend.
He's like, and following that, I'm prepared for my verdict right now.
So I've seen all I need to know.
Yeah, I understand that.
Wake me up when it's verdict time.
It is funny because this whole when you were going through that thing and you're talking about that. Before you even mentioned the pandemic, I was like, man, I wasn't missing live performances and going to the theater particularly. But it made me think of, because I would say I did not frequent the theater frequently before the pandemic, but now I can't go, right? Or it's just not happening. And I'm like, man, it would be nice to go to a live performance. I definitely am like, yeah, that's you're making me think. And I was thinking back, I think the last thing I went to, which I would include in this wheelhouse because it is theatrics, it's the theater, was a Cirque du Soleil performance, a kind of one of their small ones that was a bit more, it was very adult oriented, kind of like sex jokes and nudity, but it was really funny and in a very small, intimate kind of venue. There was like a tent they set up with a round, the performers were in the middle. And it was a great experience because something that you can never capture, at home watching a movie on Netflix. I mean, or it's just that being around other people whose reactions you're sharing and are fueling your reactions, and just that maybe the smells in the air, the way the lights really are when you're watching them live, it can't really be replicated, and it is a great experience. So, I mean, starting out, when I think of this thing, I have a nostalgic feeling right now because it's like, I can't do it. And I'm like, oh, it would be nice. But I mean, if I had gone once every 2 years to a theater, it would be a lot.
I probably go to the theater the least of the three of us. I remember Mike at one point being involved in like the Fringe Festival or something like that.
Oh yeah,
Beau was too. We volunteered at the Fringe Festival.
You remember? I think. Well, we shouldn't talk about what happened there, actually. But
anyway,
why did you rob them or something?
No, if you don't remember, I'm just gonna leave it at that. We'll talk about it after the show.
All right, fair enough. Yeah. Tell me later.
But I'm surprised you don't remember.
All right. Just let me finish. So my point is that I'm the least theatrically inclined of the three of us, right? So but theater writ large occupies a spot in my brain, and I think it does in the spot of a lot of people's brains, where like it's seen as almost like an aspirational thing that you feel like you should be into more. And I have that sometimes with books or different things where I'm like, this is refined art that I should be into. And I remember when we were shopping for our first house, there's this thing called the Great Canadian Theatre Company, and it's fairly near where my house was. And I remember when it was on the listing for my house. It was like near the GCTC. And I was like, what is that? It's like Great Canadian Theatre Company. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. When we buy this house, we can go to a bunch of plays at the GCTC. It'll be great. This thing that I didn't know about.
Of the arts.
Yeah. This thing I didn't know about until 5 minutes ago. But like, honestly, theater it'll be great. So I lived
even if you go once a year. It's nice that it's in the neighborhood. Catch the show. It's a date night.
Wow, look at that theater. Look at all the theater that's in this theater. And then so I was there for I think I lived in that house for 6 or maybe 7 years, and the grand total of shows that I saw at the GCTC is 0. Although I attended 2 meetings in protest of a condo building being built at that in the theater, but I did not attend any theater per se. And again, it's not because I hold anything against the theater. In fact, when Jesse and I went to New York, we went to see The Lion King. I've seen a bunch of plays throughout my life at different points, but it's rarely something that I think to do in terms when I compare it to, say, watching a movie or playing a video game or even reading a book. I'm like, these are things that appeal to me more, whereas people almost have to drag me to the theater, and I'm only thinking about this now. It's not something that I ever really thought about before, and it's not because I hold anything against the theater per se, but I definitely think about it more as an aspirational, oh, this is a great thing, than something I actually routinely engage with.
Yeah, I have the exact same story as you. I'm not going to say it, but literally that was like a big selling point was the GCTC, because you and I lived fairly close to each other for a time, and I had the exact same thing. And I guess how many times I went? 0. at zero. Like at
you
zero.
Almost has a degree in theater.
Yeah, like, and that's what I mean. But I often lament it, and I sort of, well, anyways, I'm understanding why I don't do certain things I say I like to do, and that's sort of coming to light, that I got to push myself a little more because of my neurodiversity to do those things. Like I have to have plans for that stuff because I want to do them. But so it isn't for lack of wanting, but I still do feel shame, and I do lament, like, I should get out. Like, even before, like, I've always just been like, I should, it's good to see shows, like, just go and do it. So anyway, but I feel like a lot of it has to do with, too, in this day and age, like, there's a lot of attention that we place on, like, movies. Like, we feel like we get our fill of the dramatic arts from films and books and even podcasts and Instagram drama and politics. Like, we get a lot of dramatic entertainment from a lot of sources. So when you're thinking about the theater, you're also thinking, well, yeah, but I see a lot, and I have a lot of leisure time in front of games and stuff. Maybe, you know, next week. And so it's just not a high priority, right? And if it's not a high priority for everyone, then it goes away. So it makes me sad because it is a different experience, and it doesn't really have any advocates, and it doesn't have any flashing laser lights or guys in pajamas throwing shields around. I love superhero stuff too, but like, the theater's never going to wow you with anything in this day and age. But when you go, it's a good experience still. So
it's quite so I was thinking about a bit more time to reflect as you guys were talking and thinking about past theater experiences I have. And it's funny because it's like, so my in-laws are like patrons of the Ottawa Little Theater, which is sort of like, it's been around forever. And they have a season of shows. I think they'll run 4 or 5 shows a year that'll run for a month or so. And they have season tickets, and they'll routinely give my wife and I, they'll either buy us an extra set to go with them, or they can't go and say, we'd like to see your tickets. And I've gone a few times to see those tickets. So a couple things about that. That's like community theater. You know, they have a nice the place is nice. You go in, and it's like, the patrons or the people who go to this are largely going to be in my in-laws demographic. So they're, you know, they're in their 70s now, and they've been going for a long time. So it's like, what would you call, like, it's easy fare, you know, like the things we saw were like kind of like delightful, you know, whimsical murder mysteries that where no one really gets murdered, and it's kind of funny, and it's light, and it's great. You know, I enjoyed myself at some of those things. And so that's on the one side, but I'm like, I leave and I'm like, meh, you know, you could easily watched a comedy on Netflix and been as well entertained. Then because, and then this is on a shoestring. The actors are volunteer. You can see, you know, it's maybe not their strongest suit. They're doing it on the side, and they have day jobs somewhere else. And most of them are doing, you know, a great job. But it's apparent it's not their full-time job. So it's like, it's quite amateur-ish. That's one side of it. The other side, as Crofton mentioned, the musicals, they get a lot of money. Production values are high. I, for one, hate musicals. And like, I just can't think anything no, there's things I would least rather not do than go see a musical, but I do not love musicals. I have no, and that's like, a lot of that is the theater. It's musicals, Fan of the Opera. It's like The Lion King. I'm like, I could care less about someone singing their stuff. And I feel like that's kind of where theater lives for the most part. You'll get, you know, we have the Shakespearean festivals, you know, Shakespeare's good stuff. But for example, I read, say, Heinrich Ibsen's An Enemy of the People years ago when I was young, and I was like, man, this is powerful theater. You know, something like Arthur Miller's The Crucible. It's like powerful theater, you know, where it's like ideas with an allegory, and it just,
well, you're talking about the golden age of dramaturgy.
Yes, and that stuff. Yeah. Now that stuff, when I read those, I've never seen any of those performed. I know that Arthur Miller will still make the rounds here and there and whatever, but it's not where I can see the theater. I can see a musical, or I can see amateur kind of hee-haw. I shouldn't say that. Easy listening kind of like light stuff. But I mean, like, I see the power in like really good theater that is like simple. And just like it's meant to provoke emotion and thought, and I think can do it in a way that film can do as well. Let's face it. But I see less of that. So and that would be the stuff that I would be more drawn to. And I just think there's not a market for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, those hard things are hard to write too, right? Like, yeah,
And I'll come down on the other side from Mike. I actually quite enjoy musical theater, and I mean, I'm not like signing up to go to all the musicals or whatever. But I remember seeing, I think Rent came to the NAC when I was a kid, and we went to see that as a family, and I enjoyed Rent at the time, and I was like, it spoke to me, especially as a teenager at that time, and I like The Lion King, I like all of that. Recently, on Netflix, I watched, and this is a throwback to my good friend The Boss in New Jersey. Bruce Springsteen had a one-man show, Springsteen on Broadway, and I was like, "What is this show exactly?" And because I love The Boss's music, and I was like, "What's it going to be like?" And it's essentially, I've never really seen anything like it. It is what it says it is, in a one-man show where he is speaking, telling stories, and also interwoven it with different pieces that make sense. And I was like, man, this is amazing. I thought it was really good. I would recommend it. My wife is not a Springsteen fan like I am, and she was really into it. She's like, man, it is really compelling. And all it was we were watching it on Netflix in my basement, but it was one dude in a black t-shirt with a guitar in 4K, like standing in Broadway. And really the entire power was in the script, the delivery, and the music, obviously, but really compelling stuff. And I was like, man, when theater resonates with me, it really does. Like, I really enjoy it. And in a way, it's like, to Beau's dinosaur technology point, it is one of those things where, like, if there was an apocalypse tomorrow, we lost all tech, we wouldn't be able to do a lot, but we could write a book and we could perform a play. Like, these are very basic things that you can do with very little, and there is something admirable about that even though the world gets more crowded, even though we all have a camera in our pocket, if you will, that can now do special effects. Like, I can make a movie in my pocket now that I would not have been able to dream to do when I was a kid, and ways of distributing it as well, like that I have now, so I can have tons of people watching it. So theater is seeming increasingly quaint in the modern world, but the fact that it's there is somewhat comforting. And that's why during the COVID pandemic, like, I've been reading about how, like, Broadway, the most notable, theater street in the world, is pretty much shut down. And, a lot of these folks are hurting. And I can only imagine like how the theater industry as a whole is going to recover from this, when they were already on the ropes from things like the movie industry and stuff. That said, like, I'm not sure when COVID ends, am I going to go to the theater any more than I did before? And, like, I don't know, maybe not.
Like, that's the one thing. Like, I'm suspicious immediately of anything I say that's like, as soon as this pandemic's over, I'm going to the theater. Because I think it.
Like, what's on Netflix?
I'm like, I want to think it. I want to say it. I feel like I'm saying it to myself in my head, but my past history does point to a tendency to say things like that and not follow through. So
I will just point out, Beau, though, like, they released. So I have still not seen it because I don't have Disney Plus right now. But and I have never seen Hamilton before, which was the last major sensation to come out of the theater, I would say. But Hamilton was released, a live performance, I think original cast, I'm not sure, was released on Disney Plus, and it caused a bunch of waves. A lot of people were into it at that time. It was a bump in popularity because a lot of people like myself have never seen Hamilton, because you would have to get tickets and you would have to go to a theater, and it's not like a movie that you can just watch. But the reality is now you could, like, the Springsteen show, the Hamilton show, like, they're on these streaming services that are constantly looking for content. There's something weird about watching theater in that way, but at the same time, people seem to still enjoy it.
I guess, like, I think it's fine to record it. It's funny you bring that up, actually, because I have a personal little anecdote to tell you guys. But it is. I think you can watch a theatrical recording on video. Concert videos are fun, but it's just a different experience. I think what I always try to emphasize with people, it's not that what you're watching is any different or that, one's worse than the other. It's just a different experience. And there is a feeling when you're in a crowd and people are laughing and there are people performing and maybe they're doing terrible things on stage. And it's like, if I really saw that, I'd be like, so you're feeling something, but they're performers, but because they're real humans, like being really shitty to each other or really funny. Like it really hits you in this like organic biological way that like doesn't happen when you watch a movie, because like you could hear people around you laughing in the theater, but the people up, it's a picture you're watching, just on some really fundamental level. It's just a different feeling. Like sometimes, for example, if you were to find a particular actor attractive, when it's a movie screen, you might just look at them all you want, but they're a person and their eyes glaze out into the crowd and you're like, oh, I don't want to be creepy. Like, like I feel like you feel things because it's a human up there that you don't feel, or thought processes that's there. So I find that I miss that. Anyways, I think I'm ranting and I don't know where I'm trying to head anymore. But let me tell the personal anecdote on the recording front. It was my birthday on the 9th, as I seem to say a lot. But I got a VCR from my mom for my birthday, and I was finally able, after like 20 years now, to watch my old recording. So I did direct some plays, and I was a house manager at a theater for a little while. So it's a subject that's in my wheelhouse. And we did a recording of Oleana, and I have it. And I was so happy to watch it. And you know what? I did a pretty good job. I was like, why am I not still doing this? Like, fuck me. Like, it's crazy. Anyways, I did.
I think I saw your. I went down to Kingston and watched one of those.
Yeah.
When you were doing it.
You guys, Crofton, did you come to see Oleana?
No. No.
I don't know if we knew each other that well.
It was a movie playing. You didn't want to miss.
I don't know that we knew each other that well at that time either, though.
No, you wouldn't.
Because I would have been like 23.
If you had wanted, I have a VCR that Jesse keeps trying to get me to throw out, but I'm like, no, one day I'll need this.
Oh shit! My mom got me one for $10, but the sound was kind of bad. I need something to record it now because I want to digitize it and have the memory.
I got it's one of the last VCRs like that when it was it still looks kind of new.
Oh okay.
But Jesse's trying to get me to throw it out. I was gonna say
you should keep it. You never know when you'll want it. Like I really needed one.
Yeah, no, that's what I keep telling her. But for me, the thing about theater is I definitely don't have necessarily anything negative to really say about it, but it's just one of those things where, like, for lack of a better term, I take for granted. Like, I know that actors that perform, like you hear Patrick Stewart or Ian McKellen, they talk about how, they have this passion for the theater because like, I imagine as an actor that especially if you do movies, and movies are like constantly cutting, cut, let's do this, take
next scene, do it again.
Times. There's no sense of story flow for you, like as an actor, you're delivering a piece and it's being stitched together. Your play is being stitched together. Whereas if you are performing on stage, you're performing in chronological order. And you are there throughout the story and you are participating in the story as it goes forward. So I could see how, as an actor, though challenging, because you got to memorize all your lines and such, that it would be much more rewarding than perhaps just like showing up, doing a couple of takes, then showing up, doing a couple of takes somewhere else, maybe even
I'm sure.
Order.
Yeah, I mean, look, in high school, I was in the theater. I took drama class.
What high
and
school?
Was in the in high school. But I mean, it was high school, so we put on these. You'd rehearse all year, and I was in a couple of our I don't know what they're called. One of them was a play. One of them was like three vignettes of
a major
fault. One of them was like a big one. It was a big play. It was like the end of the year. Another one was a Faulty Towers, the John Cleese
I remember the
show.
Faulty Towers thing. Yeah.
I was Basil Fawlty in one of them. And so I was the actor, and it is an interesting experience to act like that. I mean, there was enough people. This is a 200-person capacity at our auditorium, and it'd be full of parents, right? So they're giving you an easy ride. They're like, "Oh, you guys are so great." But it's an interesting thing, and I had to memorize all my lines, and I definitely screwed some up because we did the thing where it was like a couple weeks and there was multiple performances, and I remember a few times being like, "Oh, I missed like 3 lines," and you just have to roll with it, and people will roll with it, which is why you practice improv and drama club, and it is a neat and exhilarating experience to do that. It's like it's on the line right now. You can't just be like, "Oh God, I screwed it up. Let me start over." Like everyone's watching you. So that's a very interesting thing. And I think that that's tangible when you watch the theater too. You know that that they're well rehearsed, they're well practiced, but they're human beings. They can make a mistake. You know, we all do little mistakes in our day jobs. That's what they're doing, and that's something quite interesting to see. You know, people kind of like putting it all out there. This is one take. We're doing this for you straight through. And you know, and the higher level it is, especially with the musicals and stuff, the more impressive it is that people are doing that in one take. You know, it's one thing to do a movie. You know, when I was also a teenager, would make movies with my friends. The same thing. You might be like, oh, we screwed that up. Let's do another take or whatever, and you edited it together. It's a very different thing. You know, it has an energy of a live. You know, it's a live performance, and it does feel like that. It is alive. This thing exists. It is born at the start and it dies at the end.
Like, that's a great way to
that's its
punctuate.
lifespan. It can.
Oh, he's lost again.
I mean, it really is. It's that, you know, if any performance you see is an individual creature that lived once and never again. You know, and whereas a movie you see is there forever. So it's not unique. It is replicable. You know. And I'm like, there's something cool about that, to be like, you saw that performance? It's like people who go to the Grateful Dead shows, you know, they go to every single one and it's like, oh, are they all the same? It's like, no, they're live performances. Different things happen. You know, you see it once. It's interesting. So it's not captured much in our society that we live in the, in the, everything is on a screen.
That's a great point.
Recorded.
It's a great point that that each performance is its own organic experience as well. So that you're getting that night's performance, and that night's performance is unique to the other ones. You know, that's also not something you can really advertise like on YouTube or whatever, or wherever you get your ads. Like, the thing I love best about performances is they're different. Like, you know, but it is part of what makes it special. But like, you can't sell it. You can't, like, there actually, theater sort of underpins in this day and age why it's like hard to sell certain things in the tech world. You know, because theater is amazing. Everything we said is 100% true. And if you're not into it, that's cool. But like, how do you can't really market the thing. I don't know. I find it very hard to get people excited about theater all my life. That I've been interested in plays and theater when that picked up. You know, people like it and people are positive about it, but very few people go or read dramatic texts even, or, you know, unless someone's making them do it. It's
like, you know, we've talked about this kind of stuff before. What I mean, I was going to say, like, convenience, right? We talk about our advanced society and things are ever more convenient, ever easier. And I think that that's true of something like the theater. The theater is harder, you know. It's just, you want to, you know, even if you're going to the movie theater, you know what to expect. You've seen the trailer, you know, or it's a franchise, you know, it's got high production value. Sometimes you don't like the movie, but like, you know, basically what it's easier, and it's getting easier all the time. Now we stay at home, we just watch Netflix. It's all at your fingertips. The theater, it's like, you got to go there. You wait. There's always an intermission. Things sometimes get screwed up when you're watching it. The performances aren't always perfect, and we're just basically too lazy. We don't want to like waste the time. And I mean, I think of this laziness factor because, like, you know, I said I don't go often, and if it weren't for my in-laws and my wife occasionally buying a ticket to some live performance, I probably would never go. And almost invariably, and this is true of so many things, when I do go, it's great. Even when it's a crappy performance, the actors are kind of shitty, I leave and I'm like, that was wonderful. Those people did a great job. It might not have been the best play in the world, but it was what a fun experience. I should do this more often. And then guess what? I go home and I watch Netflix, and I don't book any more tickets. I don't become patrons of the arts.
But is it because it's a novelty? Partly, like, have you guys ever been to an awful play?
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I have, and I find that there, like, here's the thing, right? Like, if you're watching something that you really dislike on TV or whatever, you can turn it off, change the channel. If you're watching a movie, even in theaters, you can even walk out. I seldomly do because I've chosen to be there or whatever. But when you're in a theater, it's like these performers are giving you their all and all this, and it's long and it's painful. And I have a lot of empathy. I sometimes am embarrassed for what's going on stage, and I feel my cheeks getting red, and I'm just like, oh man. And it feels like the longest time in the world. Like time is moving in slow motion, and I'm like, dude, could I leave? Could I go to the bathroom and not come back or whatever? Often, like it could be that I'm there. It's often an amateur production. Maybe I'm in support of a friend or something like that. But sometimes it's.
Are you describing Beau's performance? That
No,
you saw?
actually, Beau's was surprised. Like now, Beau's there was a lot of.
I'm joking, and Beau's great.
There was a lot of hamming in that. But you know, the self-serious ones, and I did see one at the Little Theater in support of a friend of mine, and it was very,
the Little Theater.
You know, like it was rough. It was lighthearted, and it was exactly in the demographic that you explained earlier, but it was rough, and I found myself checking my phone to what time is it? Oh my God, is this going to be over? When's the intermission? And I just find like theater, I don't go often. And mostly, I agree 100% with Mike that I generally come out and I'm like, wow, that was great. I should do this more often. But when it's painful, man, it seems like it was really painful. I don't know if it's just me, but.
No, I mean, I see what you're saying. The one thing that I would say is maybe a somewhat counter to that. It's not even counter, because I agree. And I have seen those plays, and sometimes there's sometimes for sure someone in the cast who you're like has been psyching themselves up for 20 years to go and volunteer at the theater. They've always wanted to act, and they're doing it, and you're like, oh man, they're really not cut out for acting. And it can be rough to watch that sometimes, and it's not going super well or whatever. But at the same time, what you're seeing, so counter that to a shitty
could
movie.
Be bad.
Like the other day,
the play could be bad though. Like
the
I don't want to blame on the actors.
No, but I've seen where it's both. The play is a weak play, just a bad play. If it had been Patrick Stewart, you'd be like, this play sucks. But it's not. It's just like some back. Random person.
No, he's saying Patrick Stewart's performance.
Everything he touches is gold. It's true.
Yeah, he would have saved it.
But he would have. Patrick Stewart's great. So you're seeing that, and I just mean I was gonna say as a counter, a bad movie. The other day I watched some Jennifer Aniston. Oh, what was it? And some other
good
guy I didn't even know.
It was romantic. We talked about this. It was The Millers,
so
Meet
bad.
The Millers, or something.
Oh God, it was.
Was that what it? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do not ever waste your. I think it was on Net. What I stopped watching it an hour in, and I was like, "Oh my God, what a horrible movie!" But and then it's just done. I wasted an hour of my time, and I turned it off. And you know what I felt like? Anger at this horrible movie. Why does it exist? Why did I waste my time? And I left. But I will say that when you go to the theater and you witness that rough theater performance, I'm not like, I mean, maybe there's some big a-hole who'll stand and be like, this sucks, and they're like, you guys are horrible. Mostly I'm feeling compassion for the people
that's
who are giving it their best. Yeah, I mean, like, when you say Crofton, you're cringing. You're not cringing because you're like, I hate these people. You're feeling for them because they're trying to do something hard. Maybe they're not the best at it.
It's an empathic response.
Yeah, you're feeling that compassion, that empathy towards someone, and that's an experience, and that's a human experience that you don't get from the shitty movie, but you might get from watching a bad theater performance. Now, I'm not saying that the bad theater performance is something you want, but it gives you a kind of experience. And sometimes might make you think like, wow, those people they're taking a risk. Maybe it's someone at the Fringe Festival doing a one-act play they wrote themselves, and it's horrible. And you're like, but what you can say is, good for that person. I'm not doing that. I didn't write a one-act play and get on stage and put everything out there. Give them props, even if it's terrible, and that you gotta say something for that.
Mike, I love you. I want to kiss you. I want to kiss
you
right now, Mike. That's the best.
Mike's
usually you're like, I fucking hate it. And, you had to sneak one in there a couple times, but like overall, I'm like, oh, what a positive message about the theater. I love it. Laced with like, this movie sucks, by the way. But anyways, here's the nice thing again.
Oh, The Miller's horrible.
I just imagine
you're not wrong.
Mike's standing at the festival with like a guy pouring his heart and soul into his shitty one act play, and he's just putting it out there. And Mike's giving, he's like, you gotta respect him though. It takes a lot of bravery. Beau, can you give me another tomato, please? And then you suck, buddy.
And then I turned to Beau and say, like, I really feel bad for him. Man. He's really taking
a lot of compassion. A lot of compassion. He's got a tough crowd. but yeah, no.
That's a very funny scenario.
I respect it because I have never had, like, even though I don't suffer from stage fright or anything like that, performing in front of folks, memorizing that amount of content and being able to deliver it, like, is never something that has not scared me. Like I find it scary. If you told me to go up on stage and just, deliver some remarks off the cuff or whatever, you give me some bullet points, I'd be more than happy to stick to a script and to play a role in all this for an extended period of time, like just on the acting side of things. And that's like, there's directing, stagehands, there's a lot of craftsmanship that goes into it. I find it very impressive. Like, and that's why, to Mike's point about the compassion, I totally agree in the sense that like, as bad as the performance is, when I'm cringing and like getting down in my chair, it's because I'm feeling bad for the folks on stage, and it's not because I'm feeling any sort of resentful for them.
That's the It's the empathy response. It's part of, because you're seeing real people, whether they're miming or you're intuiting what they're really going on. You feel it. You feel it in a way that the TV doesn't make you feel something sometimes. So.
You suck, Beau. Get off the stage.
Well, I've never heard that on a stage, but I've definitely heard that on Twitch and YouTube. Shout out to the guy who wrote the comment about, like, you LOL, you only have one view on this video or something like that. I'm glad you stopped by and threw that tomato. That, that's the virtual version of theater.
But that's the thing, about theater, is like, you're only, and when you guys say like the performance is only to the people in the room, like, that's it. There's no, unless it's being filmed and is going to be showed elsewhere, then that's it. It's there and it's gone, and there's nothing.
Yeah.
And as everyone talks about Hamilton, and I was like, man, I'm sure I would enjoy Hamilton. How do I watch it? This is before it was released on Disney Plus. I was like, how do I watch this thing? And then they're like, well, the soundtrack's available. And I'm like, I don't want to watch. I don't want to.
Yeah, you wait for it to come to your town.
I'm like, yeah, exactly. I have to wait for it or go see it somewhere and try to get tickets.
That's why it's been outsourced. Like, the money differential from the business of theater as the film industry became a thing is like, do you want to make 10 cents? Do you want a return of 1% on your investment, or do you want a return of 500 million% with TV? And it's like, well, I guess we're doing movies. Like, that's kind of what it is. But like that the extra bit where people sort of have this opinion, and if you do, you need to reflect, because it's wrong, that somehow film was an improvement on theater, or is like, that's even a linear path. They are two separate things. I think film sometimes has more in common with books than it does with actual plays, which seems counterintuitive because it uses actors and has lines, but it's images, and words are a series of images that run past you on the page that you move with your eyes, whereas the pictures actually animate and all that and provide way more context and meaning to your human brain. But it has less in common really with theater, I think, than traditional print media. But
no, anyways. It absolutely does. I mean, and speaking to my own credentials that I have in script writing, when you write a movie, it is all show don't tell. Like, you have to use the images. That's how you write a script. You want to keep the dialogue to a minimum. You should never make a character say something that could be shown in some other way on film. But in a theater, it's like, it's just not that. It's wordy. Like the dialogue is key. You're so limited by what can happen. And I find sometimes if they try to go overboard, on some of these sets and set design stuff, it probably is going to fall flat and can't compete with something like movies. Whereas you see these one plays, like, what is it, like Waiting for Godot or something like that? It's like a lamp post and a bench. And like, that's the set, right? And everything else is dialogue, and I, look, think of what we're doing on this show. I love dialogue. I love conversation. It could be scripted, and if it's well done, that's a great way to explore ideas. I mean, it's how Plato, most of his stuff is in the form of dialogues. It could be performed, Well, it's a great way to draw out ideas through dialogue, and the theater is really like that. I love that.
The theater history nerd in me wants to point out that plays and poetry were inseparable at a certain point in history, that writing a poem meant that you were orating it. And you know what I mean? Like it is like Aristotle's treatise on theater is called the Poetics, for that exact reason,
Right.
because they're indistinguishable. Because dialogues are usually long, recited. If you read Oedipus Rex they're long recited poems written in meter. So for meter, for people who don't know, that's when you measure the timing of syllables and do the syllables in a structure, long stress or short stress. Like iambic pentameter is short stress, long stress, short stress, long stress. So da 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 da. All of Shakespeare's stuff is written in iambic pentameter for the most part. So if you take out the words and just do the syllabic sounds, it's da 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 da. Da, 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 da. I went to the store to get the cheese. You hear the beats in there? I went to the store to get cheese, long stress instead of short stress. Anyways, the two were inseparable. I interrupted you with a rabbit hole completely. I'll give it back to you. Sorry.
I just want to point out to Mike's thing, because we're doing references now, that I was watching Happy Endings, which is a sitcom that is not as disgusting as the title implies, and they do exactly what Mike was saying about the show and don't tell. So one character will be talking to another character, and for humorous effect, they're referring to past events. Like, so it cuts to a flashback, right? And so it cuts away, flashback happens, and it's funny, whatever, funny thing. Then it comes back to the actual action. And the character that is not the one that was telling the flashback, the other character is reacting to it much like they just watched it, like the audience did. So clearly one character explained in words what we just saw in the flashback. And I wonder to myself, I'm like, what does that look like for some of these flashbacks? Because it's really the show don't tell. I'm like, what would the tell have been there? You know? And that's what the theater answers. They have to, you know, like flesh out these conversations, and you have these long, like, you know, the famous soliloquy, the Hamlet one where he's talking to the skull and all this. How do you get these inner thoughts out that you could display through visible medium? Well, you have to say them. And if you don't have somebody to say them to, well, you got to say them to a skull, and it's got to be, you know, like this is how the information needs to be presented. And yes, there's an artifice to that for sure. But you, as a viewer, you generally get on board with most of that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of examples that we could go into, but I'm wondering, everyone, if we are ready for the verdictization.
We are. I am.
Yeah. Did you put it?
Yep.
I heard a little Velcro pull, and I couldn't see your hands, and I saw your shirt move a little bit, and I was like, what are you doing?
He's just taking off his pants.
No, damn it, I was hoping that wouldn't be heard. It's because one of the big elements of the theater are just not
hey,
whoa, I got a line here. One of the big elements of the theater are the mid-scene.
What's he doing?
Costume change.
Oh, costume. Oh. Yeah. By the way, also
amazing. How did he do it?
This makes me also want to bring up one point
audio
to add to the record. He's wearing a Spider-Man helmet. So
helmet.
Fuck off. Whatever. Head thing. Mask.
Toque? What would you call it?
A pullover. So the thing is that acting is a very physically demanding sport, in addition to also having to be artistic, like, you know, to think and like interpret and have an art. It takes upper body strength to like hold your arms out and do the poses, and there is a physical discipline as well to acting on stage for 3 hours a night or whatever it is you're doing, that also doesn't get enough like, even for the dramatic stuff, like you have to have a physical command over your body in order to emote, to move your body in the ways that might be required of you from a production or director or something like that.
What if you're playing the girl in Heidi that's in the wheelchair the whole time?
I mean, you have to have strength. You have to have some body control. You have to practice. You know, it doesn't mean you have to be buff. It's just, I'm talking strength, not muscles or appearance. I'm talking the ability to stand there comfortably and not let it bother you.
Composed and...
Yeah, like, you know, there's a strength to it.
It is funny, though, because as you say that, I mean, we've been saying a lot of good things about it, but that's one thing generally about the theater that I don't love. And I even remember back to my high school acting days, like, because, and you're absolutely right, like in a theater, you know, you first you have to project your voice. You're speaking louder than is normal for someone to speak for the purpose of everyone hearing you. It makes complete sense. And the same with body language, body gestures. Things are drawn out so that they project across, this space to the back of the stage. But at the same time, there's something about that which is kind of not, it's clear, like, like when we talk about like overacting, I always think of the theater actor with their arm outstretched in this loud voice. And I think of that as like, oh God, that's some bad acting. Because, at some point, acting of any kind is supposed to emulate, reality, people, emotions, interactions, drama between people. And there's something that always breaks that fourth wall for me about that stage acting. Everyone is kind of shouting in my face, and they're kind of always, the blocking where they're always sort of facing the audience, even when it seems dumb because they have to project. And that stuff always kind of breaks the fourth wall for me. Now, it can be done, and if the play is written well and staged well, you barely notice some of that stuff. But I think some plays really lay into it too, and I don't love that as much. I love the subtlety of acting from film better.
It's like old Hollywood movies too. You see a lot of that.
Sure,
they're in rooms and standing in places. People don't stand like that when they're talking in their bedroom.
Really
It's like
it's very interesting to see that early film.
But there's this sense that there's a sense that even what you understand as acting is a code, is a series is a text that you, the audience, understand, and the actor understands, communicates that to you. But that's not true of all people, of all theatrical cultures too. So some of it is just of the age, where nowadays we want realism, we want to feel like it's absolutely so real, we want just that aesthetic. Like, I would argue that what you're espousing is just you like that aesthetic more than the other one, and neither of them are good or worse than the other.
That is for sure a personal choice, and it's the same reason why I don't like musicals. I mean, you always quote, what is it, Shaw, who says anything too silly to be said is sung. And I find that's true.
Voltaire. Anything too stupid to be said is sung. Yeah,
and I mean, it's like, just think about Cats. I mean, what a stupid. It's like,
they just released the film last year. But it was a huge bomb.
Just think of all songs. Like, if you really think about any song and try to say you're giving a speech, you're like, this is ridiculous. Like,
especially like, I remember as a kid when I would first see, and some of the earliest things I saw, where my mom worked at the high school I went to, and she would take me to see the performances when I was, like, say, in junior high or elementary school, to see like the big high school kids were doing their end of year performance, and they often did like Little Shop of Horrors and stuff like that. And I remember always liking the parts where there was talking dialogue, and I'm like, why are they so short? Now they're singing another stupid song, because I found the other parts more interesting. But it was usually just like the dialogue in musicals is usually just a bridge to get you to the next dumb song. And
why are you looking so down, Mike? You seem to be saying angry words. Can we do something to lift up those spirits?
Way, Beau. Today,
just put on a smile on your face. Don't stare up into space. Stay down here with me. Can't you see that destiny is approaching us, and we must move forward with bravery and love.
I just want to point out, first off, good job, Beau. Bravo. Secondly, I just want to say that I'm adding this to the bucket list of things that Mike hates, that are like joyful things, because like singing in musicals are like, it's like it's a positive, joyful thing. Mike's like, why can't they just get to the depressing debate part?
Why can't they get to the part where they hang the person who's innocent and then let the
why can't it be more like the Crucible? But
the Crucible's good.
But what the other thing I just wanted to say, and this is sort of in defense of what he's saying, it is a prejudice that I had, definitely in high school and maybe beyond, was the theater kids annoyed the shit out of me.
For sure. They're all like, extra energetic and extroverted. A lot of them are, and sure.
Extroverted in almost like a sitcom comical type of way. Like when Mike was talking about the projection of the voice and all of this, I was thinking about how they're walking around the halls like just doing theater everywhere. Life is a stage, Crofton. I'm like, shut up.
Definitely. Theater kids can be obnoxious. I'm in good company.
For the record, I might have been in theater in high school, but I was 100% not a theater kid. I was the that guy says stuff.
I was not a theater kid in high school,
guy.
although I was an admirer of Michael's performances as well as Nick's. Shout out Nick Lynch
Beau.
if you're listening. But I was a theater university kid. That's where I.
There you go.
That's where I figured out that I need theater in my life. Except I don't get it enough. But anyways,
verdict time.
Yeah,
verdict.
All right. Let's move on to the verdicts. We bring in the animals. Here they come. That's the jury.
Order, I said. Order in the court.
All right, guys.
I'm a host this week, so I can go first.
Yeah, buddy, do it.
Just 1 second. This mask is hot for you.
Oh, it's Croc. I thought it was Spider-Man who was here.
Whoa!
Holy moly!
Wow!
The amazing effect of costumes,
dude. I didn't know.
That was
to verdict or not to verdict. Such is the question that troubles my soul every day when I wake up. I must think, theater, what does it mean to me? Do I care about it? Nay, not really. But yet I pretend to for the audience, because I know to love theater is to be seen as somebody who holds the arts in high esteem. But really, I want to play Xbox. But yet I will tell people that I'm going to go to the GCTC and see so many different plays when in fact I will just complete my achievement list. All right. So to which I will say and add as Crofton that that theater is one of those tricky ones a little bit in that it's obviously a positive thing. We've all talked about it being a positive force. I think it is largely positive, but if the game here was to say, what do you prefer, X or Y? And the X was almost anything, and the Y was theater. The X would often win for me. Okay, so no, I'm just trying to be honest here. Like, if it's like, okay, is it going to be a book or theater? Well, it's going to be a book. If it's going to be a movie or theater, it's going to be a movie, TV show. I could go on. So theater is not top ranked, but that's not what we do here. We determine, is it good or bad or bullshit. And I think for all the reasons that we said, like it is an art form in which that can take many different shapes, be it, musical, drama, like anything. It's existed since the dawn of humanity and will exist well past us. It's unfortunate that it's struggling financially right now, and I hope that it recovers. Maybe I will attend some theater moving forward, but unlike Beau in particular and Mike somewhat, I don't have that deep sort of attachment to theater or have participated in it. And I know that it's a bonding experience, be you a stagehand or a producer or anything. Like, you work on a play together, you feel it afterwards and stuff. So for me, like, I recognize that it's positive, but it's at the peripheries of my life, and maybe that's to my loss, but I feel like I would be a phony if I presented it as being more important to me than it actually is. But that said, of the verdicts that we have in front of us, I'm going to say the theater is good.
Oh, well, there you go. We got a good verdict. Crofton, by the way, I'm inspired by your verdict.
Oh, no. I should have gone last.
Yeah, you should have. Michael, do you want to go for, or Crofton? I guess you're hosting.
Well, why don't I go?
Next? All right.
I'll let.
I want to see your monologue. I think we should all give monologues. I think Crofton had a brilliant idea.
No, I don't feel like I have that in me. Though kudos to him for doing it.
Yes. By the way.
Yes, muted applause. I need more rehearsal time. He's bowing. Very good. I mean, I agree pretty much with what Crofton said. I think you could make the argument pretty easily that it's kind of a bullshit thing because it's been replaced by superior mediums, but there is something about it that is I don't know, so human feeling in terms of scale, in terms of connection, that is, I think, lacking, in today's high-tech world. So I mean, I think it's good, and I think let's get the sound. It's good. And I'm a bit, it's one of these things where, like so many things, I mean, I'm kind of afraid for it in a way. Whenever you hear about the theater, you hear like struggling to meet. It's getting by basically on volunteers, and even there's like less and less people are going. It's like it can't compete with the modern day. It's like someone should write a play that's an allegory of this thing. Like so many things where technology has come along and it's flashy and it's quick and it's easy and it pushes all your buttons right away and you love it, and it just destroys this old lovely thing that's been around forever. And that's probably what's going to happen, except for enthusiasts. It's already largely in that place. It's in the shadows of performing arts, and I think that's too bad. But I think everyone, can enjoy a live performance and should go to the theater now and then. And we should all probably go more than we do. And but it's a good thing.
Here. I like simple. That. I like that very much. All right. So just to recap, we got a good out of Crofton, right? I pushed good for both of them, I think. Yeah, good. So, all right. Mama me mama mo. Oh man, I built this up too much in my head. Mama, they came for me today. Old Roger, he knocked on my door, and he said, "Boy, they're coming for you. They're coming to ask you your opinion about the theater." Mama, I don't know what to tell them. I've spent my whole life reading books and going to plays and writing plays and sitting in the back of the theater listening to the audience as they laughed and gasped at the tales that I told. And then, Mama, you know what they did? They cast me out. They threw me away. And they said, "You don't belong here. We don't want your perversions in our theater." And then 10 years have gone by, Mama, and they want me to give a verdict on it. And I don't know what I'm going to say, but I tell them this: I've got a lot of scores to settle, because the theater is good. It's good, Mama. Tell them I want to shout it from the rooftops. It's so fucking good.
Can I change my verdict?
Verdicts are for closers, Mike.
Yeah, verdicts are for closers only. Nice one, Crofton.
Give him a round of applause. That was great. Lovely. Well done, Beau.
All right.
That was good.
I don't even know if it made sense, honestly. I don't think
the host. I gotta get it together.
You brought everything together. It was
Graham's great. That game in the chat room just put my critical 1 emote on there. I rolled 1 on acting according to Graham's that game.
There's my levity. I needed it. Thank you, Beau.
Great.
All right. If you want to tell us what you think about the theater, do you go all the time? Maybe you're from New Jersey. I don't know. Send us an email, goodbadbull@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And you can also submit topics. We're always looking on the lookout for those, and tell your friends too. So also Good Bad Bull. That's a good keyword. Goodbadbull.com. That's where all our old episodes are at. You can listen to them there. Follow us on Twitter @GoodBadBull. Of course, though, we are individuals of individual natures. For instance, I am @Crofton Steers on Twitter. And Beau, you are?
I am Beau Schwartz on Twitter. Come say hi to me there. Tell me how great my performance was. As an actor, I definitely enjoy compliments and deep engagement with my material.
He does. He definitely enjoys compliments. Speaking of people who enjoy compliments, Michael Hodgins. that segue didn't even make sense. Where can
super accurate there.
If you, sir, would like to hear me eloquate myself, please come in person to the local theater, where you may hear tales and stories of the wonderful and extreme in person.
That's right. Until Disney Plus streams his performances, no one will ever see him. You can watch him here. It's funny. I'm a good after.
We're the exclusive. By the way, sorry to interrupt you, Crop. We're the exclusive host of Michael Hodgins, by the way, the exclusive home. You know how lots of stations make a big deal when it's the only thing that the guy appears on. We are exclusive.
That's it. You can only find it here.
I think Beau should have his own one-man show, and we should go with the tomatoes.
Well, I was gonna ask you guys, do you guys want to because he brought up the Finch Festival. I'm like, no one's gonna apply for that. Do you guys want to do a Fringe Festival play for 2 people?
I do want to do a Fringe Festival play.
Crofton, you in? It's a Fringe Festival is basically it's free. You don't have to pay the rent. They give you a theater space.
It's a lottery.
You do 4 or 5 performances. Don't tell them that yet. If you get picked, you do 4 or 5 performances, and it's cheap. It's $10. No one's trying to make money. It's just they give all kinds of creators a venue or whoever to do plays, and all kinds of people come and watch it. And I'm like, so the 3 of us, we could be we want to put on this play, and if we win the lottery, because there's more applicants usually than there are
just
slots.
do Good, Bad, or Bullshit live. It would be
that's what it would be. It's the play is. So let me get this straight. This play is called The Good, the Bad, and the Bullshit.
No,
and it's about 3 podcasters, one of them whose opinion is good, one of them whose opinion is bad, and the other one whose opinion is bullshit. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah,
that's it.
That could be a show. We should write that. We should do Good, Bad, or Bullshit the play. And then we can tape it, and we can put it on YouTube, and maybe it'll get it'll bring in all the theater lists. It'll bring in the 5 theater watchers on YouTube into our channel.
We could do one better.
Demographic.
Good, Bad, or Bullshit the musical. Hey guys, you know what I thought about the theater? It was good.
The song I want.
It was good. Hey,
no. The song I want is, I like real plays. I don't like shitty plays. I hate musicals, but I like meaning. Write things that are good. Stop writing things that are bad. Don't make me sad. Give me intellectual thoughts. Fuck all of you.
I think the best would be that would be Beau and I start into the musical bit, being like, verdicts are good, and Mike just gets up and walks off.
You know what happens? You know what happens?
You know what? Fuck this.
Wait. What happens when Mike's comes in and super happy, and then you hear a low piano chord, duh, and the lights go all dark, and it's just Michael floating out on a fake boat, going, I lament the death of intellect. Anything too stupid to be said is sung.
I feel like it'd be more like a rock opera, and it'd be like a guitar, what are you people doing here? Don't you have anything better to do? This sucks. Get out and live your life.
And then the show.
What a waste of time this is.
Sweet. Did I? All right. I hit the end of the show button. You guys hear that or no?
Oh no, I didn't. But end the show. End the show, Beau.
I beat you this time. I did it this week.
Good work.
I wish I had thought of it while I was doing the song. Great episode, you guys. That was very fun.
Beau, that was a great piece of theater. It had its moments of deep reflection.
Mm-hmm.
It had laughs. It had tears. It was really everything you want.
And you see what happened? We were all outragey at the beginning. We were like, oh god damn it, Alex Jones, fuck. And then we're all we talked about theater, and look at us, we're alive with life, and we were not thinking about any of that bullshit.
You brought it up again, you bastard.
Sorry. I wish I didn't, now that you mention it.
But. Crofton, he has got some really interesting insights into the lizard people.
I will kill you.
That'll be Crofton's part. Michael will be singing the song, then Crofton will come out and be like, I'm gonna strangle that man.
Why is there not a throttle button?
Since we're off, I almost lost it laughing at one point to myself. Crofton, when you talked about seeing Rent, I instantly thought of the
Team America.
Yeah, I did too. I did too. AIDS, loving the AIDS.
You know
so
Team America is one of the best movies ever made.
That good. So you know, a parody is so good when it just destroys it. Because like I was into Red before that parody, right? And then I saw that. When I saw that, now it's like I can't take it seriously. Anyway.
Oh my god! It's like if those guys are brilliant. You got to give them credit.
Oh, hell yes, they are geniuses. Oh my god.
Yeah, no,
I might have to Google that Team America scene after
Team America.
Yeah, it's funny because that movie is like I was traveling in New Zealand at the time that came out, and it was like at one point I was watching a lot of movies in theaters as kind of like downtime between travels. Like it felt like comfort food, like it felt like home. You go to the movie theaters, and that was one I remember watching, and I remember like because my wife has a good sense of humor, but it's different than mine, and definitely Team America. We went to see Team America, and she was like, "That movie sucked." I was like, "That was hilarious." It was like we were
I can totally see that. It's a bit rude.
Yeah,
like the puppet sex scene is alone. Yeah. So like, and then the especially the
uncensored version is way worse. Yeah,
it's like so bad.
And the montage song I like too. Yeah, no, I could do with the rewatch.
No, yeah, that's a rewatchable movie. It's
yeah. I bet it holds up pretty well.
Yeah, well, it holds up in terms of jokes, but it is a product of its particular time, which is like, you know, the war on terror.
Bin Laden, America still has a pretty global presence. Like,
I think it actually hits harder nowadays because we're in that woke period, and like some of the best humor is the stuff that can still be mildly racist without triggering anyone's like need to stamp it out. Like Community is a good example. They make racial jokes all the time about Chang and how he's Hispanic. You know what I mean? Like Community's a super racist show, but everyone gives it a pass because it's smart and the context is there. So I'm like, anything that can still ignite the parts of your brain that goes, I can't say that, and doesn't get censored is like the money spot right now in comedy. Like,
I mean, I would be curious because when you said like, you know, does it still stand up sort of the political landscape and stuff? But I often think and mention Idiocracy. I'm like, if that movie is more on point now than it was when it was made, like it is it has become more relevant.
We are closer to Camacho. Was it Camacho?
President Camacho.
Yeah. We are definitely closer to a President Camacho, for sure.
Oh yeah. For now, anyways, maybe it'll pass and we'll get a Biden.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, they're just gonna go away and regroup. Then they come back with Camacho, who wins it all.
With Camacho, who's gonna
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway. All right.
Oh, that reminds me.
Sorry.
This episode started like a disaster, Beau. Your whole like, you know,
Well, we were acting. It's on.
You
theme,
were very
really.
triggered. You were very triggered. Actually, it turned out to be perfect.
I was triggered,
acting.
but like I was like, I know I shouldn't be. Guys, I do like accents every week on fucking There Will Be Dungeons. Like I don't know what I'm freaking out about. I just had a moment where I was like,
you never. I do
Southern accents all the time.
Black, Asian,
hey man,
Hispanic, but never will I tread on the sensibilities of a Bible Belt white man.
I should have brought it up. I actually do a character that.
No!
You know the Trade Federation guys, like the blockade. We have set up a blockade of the Trade Federation. I have a guy called the Mind Master who he talks like this, and it's like because it's not quite Asian, but it is Asian. But it's just like it's very on the line. It's very on the line. Star Wars
got so much flack for all their accents being racist.
But I'm not basing it on
Asian.
I'm basing it on the.
Are you sure?
Yes, positive.
But what did he base his on?
Misa so
Asians.
I don't know. I don't know. I claim the fifth. I plead the fifth.
I believe the fifth. No, but it is funny, Mike. Your point is well made. Like we were putting on accents and acting out something, and then it ended up being the theater. I would almost
because you didn't know that I was picking that. You didn't
scripted.
Know.
I didn't know.
You didn't know.
Zero clue.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
And you're right when you said like I can't believe we haven't done this. When you said the topic, I'm like I can't believe we haven't. Done that.
And Crofton, I was gonna totally lean into what you were doing. I was prepped, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, I had like the racism thought in my head, and I got choked. And I choked. And I was like,
was it because I came in so hard as a hillbilly?
Yeah, you came in so hard he choked.
Yeah,
too much.
Yeah, it was too good for me, man. Yeah, you came so hard I choked. Great,
he
nice
came
phrasing.
In so hard he
choked. Thanks, guys. It's great.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're ending the live stream. I may come back on and do a Hades run before bed. We'll see. Peace out.
All right.
Bye.